Two close friends, both 60 years old, both sitting on roughly the same amount in retirement savings, both aiming to retire at 65. 5 years later, one of them retires exactly on schedule and is living comfortably without a worry in the world. The other one, with almost the exact same savings, is still working 3 years later, cutting back on spending, lying awake at night wondering if the money will run out before he does. Same savings, same goal. So what actually created that gap? It wasn't the stock market. It came down to the final 5 years before retirement and a handful of decisions one of them simply never made. Stay with me, because today I'm going to show you exactly what belongs in that 5-year window. Most people assume retirement is just a number. Hit your savings target and you're done. That belief is more dangerous than it sounds. Two people with the exact same nest egg can end up with two completely different retirements, purely based on how they use the last 5 years before they stop working. I'm Jenny, and Money with Jenny exists to take the scariest, most confusing parts of retirement planning and turn them into something simple and doable. If you're somewhere in that 5-year window before retirement, a little sooner or a little later doesn't matter. This video is for you. Today, I'm walking you through 5 milestones. One job for each year, starting 5 years out and ending in your first year of actual retirement. I'll point out the quiet traps that wreck plans for so many people. And partway through, I'll come back and answer exactly what caused the friend in our opening story to delay retirement for 3 extra years, despite having virtually the same savings as the other one. Before we dive in, this is educational content, not personalized financial, tax, or legal advice. Any figures, thresholds, or rules mentioned in this video are meant only as illustrations and can change over time or vary by country and region. Always check current information and talk to a qualified professional before making decisions with your own money. This is the year so many people are still just drifting, still saving, still investing, but never actually planning. And this is exactly where our two friends' story begins. The one who ended up delaying retirement, let's call him Mike, spent year 5 saying things like, "I'll probably retire around 65, without ever locking in an actual date. His friend, let's call her Laura, sat down, picked a real date, and started stress testing whether it was actually realistic. This is the first trap, a vague target. It sounds harmless, but even a few years of drift in your retirement timing can mean a swing of hundreds of thousands of dollars in what you need saved or need to withdraw, because it determines how many more years you have to build wealth and how many years your portfolio will have to carry your spending. What needs to happen this year isn't complicated. It's just rarely done with real discipline. First, commit to an actual retirement date. Then pressure test whether it's realistic. Not a vague range, an actual date. Second, build a real retirement budget, broken into 3 layers. Core essentials, housing, food, insurance, healthcare, lifestyle wants, travel, hobbies, dining out, and irregular costs. A new car, home repairs, helping the kids, unexpected medical bills. A lot of people pick a target net worth before they even understand what their life actually costs, and that's doing it backwards. Third, check your savings runway for these final 5 years. Compare where you are today against where you need to be, so you know whether to accelerate your savings, lean on catch-up contributions, or actually ease off a little. Fourth, and this is the piece most overlooked, understand the difference between how much risk you can emotionally tolerate and how much risk your plan can actually afford. You might feel completely fine with big swings, but if a serious market drop would force you to delay retirement or slash your spending, your plan's real risk capacity is lower than your gut feeling suggests. This is also the year to clean up risks people ignore for decades. Review any insurance gaps, liability coverage, umbrella coverage, and especially health coverage if you're retiring before you're eligible for.
This is the year to understand exactly how closely taxes and healthcare costs are tied together. One extra dollar of reported income can sometimes cost you thousands in lost subsidies. This is what people mean when they talk about tax cliffs in retirement. And here we go. Back to the question from the very beginning of this video. Why did Mike, with virtually the same savings as Laura, end up delaying retirement by 3 full years? It wasn't a market crash. It wasn't reckless spending. It was because he walked into his final 5 years with no income map, no withdrawal strategy, and no idea which tax bracket he'd land in. By the year he planned to retire, an unexpected tax bill and a spike in health insurance costs had quietly eaten away most of what he thought he could safely spend each year, forcing him back to work just to close that gap. This is exactly why the final 5 years matter more than almost any investment strategy. It was never really about how much money he had. It was about whether he controlled how and when he accessed it. 3 years out, the question stops being when should I claim Social Security and becomes something much bigger: lifetime income, protecting your surviving spouse, and guarding against the risk of simply living longer than expected. So many couples only calculate their income while both partners are alive, and completely overlook the moment when one spouse passes and the household loses one of the 2 Social Security checks while most of the fixed costs, housing, utilities, insurance, barely change. This is exactly why a claiming strategy built around maximizing the survivor's benefit usually matters far more than squeezing out a few extra dollars early on. You should also model longevity scenarios, not just averages. Someone who has already reached 65 typically has a life expectancy well beyond the population-wide average. And a meaningful number of people, especially women, have a real shot at living well into their 90s. This is exactly where delaying your claim shows its true value. You locking in an inflation-adjusted income stream that lasts exactly as long as you do. Longevity risk is real, and Social Security is one of the best tools most people already have to hedge against it. At the same time, this is the year to actively defend against sequence of returns risk. The danger of a sharp market downturn right at the start of retirement, combined with the need to keep withdrawing money to live on, which can permanently lock in losses. Sequence risk doesn't care about long-term average returns. It only cares whether the market is kind or cruel in those first few years. A common way to guard against this is building a cash buffer sized to cover the gap. Not your total spending, just the difference between your expenses and guaranteed income, like Social Security, for a few years. When markets fall, you spend from that buffer instead of being forced to sell investments at depressed prices. This is also when you want to design your income like a self-made paycheck. A predictable, steady transfer instead of random withdrawals. Because a stable-feeling income stream keeps you calmer when markets get rocky. And finally, separate your spending clearly into what is essential and untouchable versus what is flexible enough to trim if the market turns unkind right as you retire. By year 2, retirement starts becoming real. You stop looking at your portfolio as one giant total and start breaking it into the actual monthly income you all live on for the rest of your life. Start by mapping out the first 24 months of retirement cash flow, not just 1 month. Because that longer window exposes seasonal or one-time costs like insurance premiums, travel, or big purchases that a 1-month plan would miss entirely. Next, decide precisely which account funds which withdrawal. Not a vague "I'll pull from investments," but a clear plan for exactly which dollars come from traditional accounts, which from taxable accounts, and which, if any, from tax-free accounts. This is the line between random withdrawals and an actual, coordinated plan. Think of your retirement income as layers stacked on top of each other. The base layer is guaranteed income. Social Security, a pension if you have one. The next layer might be part-time work if you want it. Above that, withdrawals from your portfolio. And right on top, your flexibility. Your willingness to temporarily trim non-essential spending. Viewed this way, retirement feels far less risky because you're never relying on just one source. This is also the year to decide where old employer accounts will live, whether consolidating them makes life simpler, and to set up tax withholding in advance so nothing catches you off guard, since taxes are no longer automatically taken out the way they were from a paycheck. If retirement is a house, this is when you finally start picking out paint colors. Because the framing was already locked in years ago. 1 year out, the only goal is confidence. The big strategic calls should already be locked in. Now it's about testing whether everything actually works in real life. The best approach is a financial dress rehearsal. Create a monthly practice paycheck, live on exactly the income you expect to have in retirement, while still funding it from your current salary. No need to touch your investments yet. If something feels tight or off, you find out now, while you still have time to adjust, not after you've already walked away from your job. This is also when you finalize your automatic transfers, lock in your Social Security decision along with a backup plan in case markets drop early or a spouse's health changes. Carefully handle your health insurance transition. Missed deadlines can mean penalties or coverage gaps, and complete all separation and rollover paperwork. The first year of real retirement is often the loudest emotionally, but usually not the most dangerous financially. If the groundwork from the previous 5 years is solid, markets will move. Spending might feel different than expected. The headlines might feel louder than before. What matters is watching actual spending against your plan, actual taxes against your projections, and your own behavior against your emotions. Some things will cost more than planned, some less. The key is small adjustments, not big emotional reactions. A good plan was never meant to erase uncertainty completely. It just gives you guardrails so one rough year doesn't knock you off course. And here's what I want you to walk away with. After years of covering retirement planning, the people who retire the most securely aren't always the ones with the biggest account balance. They're the ones who use their final 5 years to turn a vague pile of money into a real income system. With a tax strategy, a shield against market downturns, and a plan for the situations nobody likes to think about, like losing a spouse. That's the real difference between Mike and Laura in our opening story. Not the money itself, but how they used those last 5 years. If year 5 is the foundation, year 4 is the plumbing and wiring, year 3 is the stormproof roof, and years 2 and 1 are the finishing touches. Then, whatever year you're in right now, the job is simple. Figure out exactly where you stand and start that year's task today. Do one thing this week. Write down an actual retirement date. Not around 65, but a real month and year. Then list out every future income source you all have and exactly when each one starts. That single step alone puts you ahead of most people who are just drifting toward retirement without a real plan. One more reminder. This is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Always check in with a professional who understands your specific situation before making decisions. How far out are you from retirement? 5 years, less, or more? Let me know in the comments. I post new videos every week, so if you got something out of this one, leave a like, subscribe if you're new here, and if you know someone getting close to retirement, send this their way. I'll see you in the next one.